Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the High Ticket Coaching and Consultant Strategy and Growth Show. Now, if you're watching this interview anywhere else but within our private Facebook community called High Ticket Client Attraction Insider Circle, then definitely come check us out. We'd definitely love to have you. And that community has grown to about, I think, close to 7,000 members right now. So if you're not a part of it yet, come check us out. Now, today, I want to introduce you to one of the members of our community, Jennelle. Welcome, Jennelle.
Hi there. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. You're welcome. So Jennelle, tell myself and the rest of the community, what is it that you do?
I am a breathwork coach. So that's maybe a little bit new to some people. Breathwork is kind of this up and coming modality that is actually kind of an ancient or older modality, but it's just gaining traction now. So as a breathwork coach, I help people gain freedom from their overactive, nonstop mind. Breathwork has many different benefits, but that's kind of the niche that I'm in.
Yeah, awesome. And what got you started along those paths?
So breathwork kind of found me, as I call it, as a divine accident. I wasn't searching for breathwork. I didn't know what breathwork was. A little under 2 years ago, I was actually a food and body coach, helping other women through food and body struggles because I suffered from an eating disorder. And through some of my in-depth studies of disordered eating to help my clients better, breathwork was part of my coach's kind of tool belt, I guess, and she introduced me to breathwork. And from the very first session I tried, I was hooked, and my business just naturally transformed that way.
Mm-hmm. And what is the premise of breathwork?
So breathwork is kind of an umbrella term for any style of conscious breathing. Now, the style of breathwork that I do is more along the lines of personal growth, transformation, deep internal healing through trauma, that kind of thing. So it can bring up a lot of emotional stagnation, and so it's less relaxation and more transformation is how I like to describe it.
Yeah. Perfect. And why would someone need breath work? Why would someone need it?
So breath work is kind of the internal cleanse, as I like to call it, for our emotional constipated world. We like to stuff things down and shove things away, whether that's intentionally or unintentionally. We don't process our emotions to the degree that they deserve. So when we don't process our emotions, they come out in uglier ways. So that might be something from childhood that you haven't processed that is now creating a lot of the beliefs, as I'm sure you understand the whole belief concept. And so breathwork kind of bypasses the ego, bypasses the analytical thinking mind, kind of gets into the body, which is where a lot of our stored emotions are held. In a breathwork session, it's not uncommon to have a profound emotional release and just to receive a ton of clarity. So we're so, as a society, kind of stuck in our heads, and breathwork really accesses that deeper truth that is not filtered through our conditioning, our beliefs, our upbringing, and that kind of filtered mindset. So that's a little bit of breath work.
Okay, interesting stuff. Love it.
Yeah.
Now the question now becomes, what does working with you look like then? Is it, how does working with you look?
Yeah, so it's not just breath work that I do. Of course, that's a big component of it, but I blend coaching, like emotional, energetic coaching with breath work to bring them into this beautiful blend of transformation. So in a session, it might look like we kind of chat about where you're at, do the coaching portion of it. Then we create a breathwork session really geared towards what is the root of that kind of situation or that problem. And we set up the breathwork session to unroot, I guess, a lot of that emotional garbage that needs to come through. And after a session, a person will feel so much lighter, so much more clear, way less anxiety, which I think is a big benefit for a lot of people, because most people are kind of stuck living in their head, and breathwork kind of takes you out of your head and into a more fluid and peaceful state.
Yeah, that is so true as well, because it's one of those places when you start thinking, right, especially when you're worried or something and you have these thoughts and they get triggered, you think about one thing, then there's the next thing, and there's the next thing.
Yeah.
No, you can't stop your mind, you get stressed, all these different things, right? It sounds like what you have could definitely help someone in that situation, right?
Yeah, what our mind does is it's very fear-based. The ego is very fear-based, so it keeps us safe. It does a wonderful job at keeping us safe, but it kind of hinders us from that thriving life that most people desire. So how I like to describe it is like a simple kind of analogy is from surviving to thriving. So we're surviving basically as a humanity just in our thinking brain, and using breathwork can really take it from surviving to thriving, which is most people's underlying objective for most things. We don't want to just survive. That was a period of time where we're fighting the saber-toothed tiger. That served a purpose, but our brain has not caught up to our thriving life that most of us desire.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Now, when it comes to coaching, why coaching? Because I mean, there's so many different things we could get into. And for you, why did coaching attract you?
So I got into coaching through my own personal story, which I think most people can relate to. So I suffered from an eating disorder for a good portion of like my, young adult life, and it controlled every aspect of my life. I say it essentially robbed me of life. So I got into coaching after my recovery, or through my recovery of disordered eating. And that's really what sparked my coaching desire. So I started in the food and body niche, and then it just kind of evolved from there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And so would you consider yourself starting off health coaching? Is it what you in the food and body, is that considered health coaching?
Yeah, it was a form of health coaching, not in the form of losing weight, but more of developing a deep personal relationship with food, which maybe not as many men, but a lot of women suffer from. So that was how what got me started into the coaching industry. But now I work with men and women in various aspects, not just through food and body. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my clients come to me suffering from just like debilitating, kind of paralyzing anxiety, which is a beautiful way to, remedy that or work with that is through breath work.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So yeah, let's talk more about your ideal client. So you said one of the symptoms they show up with is maybe anxiety. Are there any other triggers that might let someone know that they would need or be able to benefit from your services?
Yeah, so the person that is stuck in their head, so I call it living mind instead of living life, which was a big portion of my life was living mind. It was controlled by food and body thoughts, never actually in the moment. So anybody who is struggling with living in their head constantly, stuck with fear, maybe lost in their life, trying to find, what their purpose is or where they're trying to go in life, and just really, really being limited by our overactive mind. So that's kind of the client that I attract the most.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Now, what about books wise? Are you a big reader, podcast,
Oh
or how do
yeah,
you get
I
information?
read a lot of books. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What would you say is your top? What's one of your top books?
One of my top books would be Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth. That really took a lot of the concepts that I was learning and just kind of put it into one book that really, really shifted and changed my life, and which is some of the work that I do is based on those concepts. So that is a book I recommend for everybody to read. And if somebody's not quite there, because it's a bit of a different read, and I say give it a second or third try if it's not clicking right away. So that's really helped me in my journey, and I've kind of taken a lot of those concepts and integrated it into my breath work.
Mm-hmm. What would you say a few of the core concepts of that book? I haven't read it, so what would you say a few concepts?
Yeah, so presence, being in the moment is a big portion of that. Letting go of the ego mind, the ego being like the false sense of self, the mind created sense of self, which is really, really a core foundation of the work that I do, is working with the ego and understanding why it is there and how it impacts what we do. And not necessarily like demonizing the ego, because it has a place, but to work with it and understand it and know that what we think is not who we are. And that might be kind of an out there concept, but a lot of people think that the thoughts that they have are them, but it's not.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Now, what are your thoughts on beliefs? How does someone, is it, because you help, would you say you help individuals change and develop new beliefs as well too?
Absolutely. So how breathwork works is it bypasses the mind and the ego and accesses the subconscious mind, which is where our beliefs are stored. So breathwork is a powerful way to shift your beliefs Of course, it takes time, like anything, but it really does kind of shift through the conditioned mind and the subconscious mind, which we're so stuck in, right? And we don't often know that. Most people don't know that they're just a product of their subconscious mind going on repeat. So breathwork accesses that subconscious mind and shifts those beliefs. Of course, you need to have some coaching and understanding of how that works. But yeah, that's been a big portion of my work personally on my personal level, as well as with my clients. I know most people can relate to this on some level, but the feeling of I'm not good enough is a powerful belief that a lot of people hold. And I know that was true for myself. Through breath work, I was able to shift that. And as a result, everything shifted, because everything is rooted in our belief system. So shifting our belief system is the absolute core of any of the work that I do. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And what about how long, what's a typical duration with working for you? Oh, sorry, working
As
for
far
you.
as
I mean, working with you.
Yeah, so I do anything from like one-off sessions just to try it out. So that's usually about a 90-minute session at the start, and then up to like 4 months or 6 months packages to really dive deep. So I do a little bit of everything in between.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And your business,
Yeah.
I think it's 100, is it 100% virtual, or you do offline as well too?
I actually was mostly I was mostly in person and prior to COVID, because breathwork, some of the assists that I do in breathwork are physical touch. So it's been a process to transition from an in-person practice to a virtual practice. So I do offer both. Anybody in the local area, I always suggest coming in person if possible, but breathwork is still beneficial to do it virtually. You just don't receive that touch, but the breath is primarily what we're looking at to really make the transformation. So both of them, to answer that question.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So tell us, what's another skill you say you've mastered that's gotten you to your level of a success today?
Overcoming fear. I mean, fear holds us back in so many ways. There's no way that I would have been here or doing what I do if I was listening to my fear or ego mind. So changing my relationship to fear has been a big part of getting me into the coaching world. For years, I knew that coaching was my calling, but I was kind of stuck in that fear mind of how am I going to make it work? I have to make my own money. Am I good enough for this? And on and on and on. So overcoming fear was the absolute first step to really getting into coaching. And then it just went from there. And now, I mean, it's not that I don't ever have fear, but the relationship I have to fear is a lot different than what it once was. Now I can see fear, and it's usually look that way. I call it like the red neon sign, like follow me, to chase your fear and to kind of dig into it versus run away, which is, what I was doing prior to coaching.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're ultimately saying when it comes to fear, it's not that you don't feel the fear, but it's almost like you feel it, but you don't let it guide you, don't let you shy away. If you still take the action, you still show up and perform anyways.
Exactly. It's not a matter of eliminating fear. It's a matter of working with it, or almost, leaning into it instead of leaning away from it.
Mm-hmm. And is that something you help your clients with as well too?
Absolutely. There's fear. Fear impacts everybody on so many levels, whether that is fear of looking for a new job, fear of moving cities, fear of, having a family. There's fear is at the root of so much of what we do as a society. So it's not you're not able to avoid fear. So the only way that I have found personally is to change your relationship to it. So I don't have a client that doesn't have some fear on some level.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Have you written any books? Do you have any books written yet?
No, I haven't written any books. It is on my bucket list of things that I would like to do, but it hasn't happened yet. I am just starting a podcast, so that should be released in the next month or so. So that'll be my inspiration to start a book as well.
Yeah. What's the name of your podcast going to be?
It's called Beyond Mind.
Beyond Mind?
Yeah, which is I think very compatible with what I do, because breathwork does take you beyond that analytical mind, beyond mind. So that was the intention behind choosing that name.
Yeah, awesome. Have you shot any or recorded any episodes yet?
Not yet. I'm actually doing that this week. So tomorrow I have some episodes I'm going to be recording and some guests that I have lined up. But I'm just about wrapped up my free audio that I'm creating for people to try breathwork from the comfort of their own home. And then it's all podcast time.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So what's this free audio?
Yeah, so this free audio is basically a breathwork session that is pre-recorded. So it's not going to have the same personalization as a one-to-one session would have, obviously, but it's still going to give you that opportunity to try breathwork, free, first of all, and second of all, from the comfort of your own home, because a lot of people have this resistance because we are kind of, like I call it, emotionally constipated as a society. A lot of people are afraid to be emotional in a session. So coming to a one-to-one session can be quite vulnerable. So doing it from the comfort of your own home, allowing yourself to fully release in a pre-recorded audio, it kind of opens the doors for people to see what it's like without having to get super vulnerable in front of somebody.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And what's the why behind what it is that you do? What's your why?
Oh my gosh, my why is because I don't like to see other humans suffer, because I suffered for so long because I thought there was something innately wrong with me that I just didn't ever seek help because I thought it was just me. But I think most humans suffer on some level and have just accepted it as okay, because our brain just says, yeah, you're surviving, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay, you're safe. That's all that it really cares about. But that can also create a lot of suffering. So my why is I don't want to see other humans suffer.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. And I guess the question now becomes, what's one habit that you practice besides breath work? Or what's one habit that you practice that you think has really got you to your level, and that could help someone in the audience get to whoever they want to get to as well too?
Personal reflection on many levels. So I'm a big proponent of journaling, and I know a lot of people are resistant to that because they don't know where to start. But I've found journaling isn't necessarily answering a specific question. It's just putting pen to paper and letting it out. So that has created a lot of clarity for me. Journaling actually was, I don't know, definitely my go-to habit or system before I came across breathwork. So journaling is definitely a big part of my life.
Mm-hmm. And are you someone who keeps physical notebooks and stuff, or is it more, are you
Oh yeah.
more of the virtual?
Oh yeah. No, I'm a sucker for good stationery. I've got all sorts of journals and different types of them. So yeah, I like the old fashioned pen to paper.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, good. Yeah, for myself, I I recently got into it as well too, and I started like I used to keep the paper, but I am so like they're all over the place. I could never keep them
All over.
still,
Yeah.
and I found like
Yeah.
an app or something. I'm really researching apps to shift to more of a virtual type of keeping, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And I did look into that and I didn't find any that was like that I would stay consistent with. So I reverted back to my traditional pen and paper, and I do have journals everywhere. So I
Yeah,
understand that. Yeah.
awesome, love it, Jennelle. Well, if someone wanted to connect with you, what's the best way for them to be able to reach out?
My Instagram is probably the best way to reach me. I'm currently in the production of my website. So once that is all up, it'll have it in the link in my bio, my website. But currently the best way to reach me is at Jennelle.Periard. And the spelling I'll let you take care of for this, because it's not as it normally is spelled. So at Jennelle.Periard on Instagram, and then all my links are there. You can access my email list, which will have the free audio link in there shortly.
Awesome. Love it, Jennelle. Well, hey, thank you so much. And guys, if you're watching this interview on the live or the replay, the links Jennelle just shared to get to connect with her, they should be right above or below the video. So you can click and get connected right to her. So again, Jennelle, hey, thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for being here. And do you have any final thoughts before we end?
First of all, thank you for having me. And second of all, for anybody who is considering breath work but has that same resistance that most people do, and we as humans like to know the outcome, I would say lean into that resistance and just try a session. I can't describe breath work into words. As I say, it's an experience, and every experience is different. So lean into that resistance, whether that's through breath work or anything else. The resistance is almost always where the growth is. So lean in.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Well, again, thanks for stopping by, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much.